Hey guys, how's it going? Michael Maven here. So for the last 2 weeks I've been running through some videos and showing you how we cut customer acquisition cost, CAC, for one of our clients by 61%. Okay, and it wasn't luck, it wasn't chance, it was a strategic decision that we did, some things that we changed, and I want to sort of walk you through how we achieved that, because a lot of people are finding it difficult to cut, their CAC, and they're looking in all the wrong spots, I feel like, and they're finding it very difficult because of that. So I wanted to just walk you through the strategy that we used for one of our clients, and made them a whole load of extra sales in the process, right? Last week I went through some of the numbers, but I'll cover a little bit of that again today. Okay, so let's get stuck into that. Now it's, hold on 1 second, I need to just lower the blind because the room's a bit bright, I can't see the screen. Okay, that's a bit better, hopefully you can still see me. By the way, also today in this video I'm going to give you a framework, okay? If you watch until the end, I'll give you a framework at the end of the video on how to build your own really good sales pages, okay? Ones that are really, they just cover everything that people need to know in the correct order that buyers generally need to know that information, and they convert really well, okay? So I'll give you that at the end of this video. Now last week I showed you how we built a new page for one of our clients, and before the page he used to make $6,231, and I just said, in theory, let's just say your page was making $6,231 a day, right? And the after page, with the same amount of traffic here, was now making $16,614, okay, compared to before. Now that's a 2.6x growth in sales, which is basically an additional on top of what you're doing already, another 160%. Okay, and in this case, that customer acquisition cost was reduced by 61%, right? And here's the spreadsheet which shows some of the details. Here's the customer acquisition cost, went from $184 down to $71, and that is a 61% reduction. Now, let me just cover some of this and show you exactly what this looks like. Okay, the original sales page, which was page A, made, with 3,136 visitors, made 6,231 sales, right? Now, like I said, that went from $6,000 all the way to $16,000, right? Now imagine, like I said, that's happening every day. Okay, you're losing. I don't want to focus too much on the dollar amount. Okay, in this case, that is a fair amount of dollars. Okay, $10,000. But more importantly than that is the growth in sales. Okay, 2.6x. That gives us a fair amount of play, because what does that mean for you? Okay, you get to see this. You get to keep the same ad spend and get 2.6x the customers with the same ad spend, right? Or you can keep the same ad spend and generate 2.6x the sales, okay, in actual dollars. Or you can spend 2.6x more per click. Now imagine if you competed with somebody, like I told you last week, you blow the competition, you just completely annihilate everybody, okay? You spend 2.6x more per click, and you can do that profitably, acquiring more customers as well. Okay, obviously if you can afford to spend that much, you're in all the best ad spots, and you can just blow everybody away, and that is a real competitive advantage. Okay, seriously. So I'm going to go through today how we did that. Now let's get into some of this. Right, now this is just an example of what it means, like what I just told you. Now this was the original sales page here on the left. That's the page A, that's what it looked like from afar, and this is what this sales page B looked like, okay? And the new sales page is 2.6x in sales. I'm not going to go through this page in too much detail. I'm just going to cover some of it because I don't want this video to get too long, but I will give you a link to the extended video and also give you a link to this page so you can just go through it in your own time, okay? But I will warn you, this page is super long. I think it's about 4,000 words, so be prepared for that. But with this video, I'm just going to go over some of the main things that made this work, right? So with this specific client, one of the problems that they had before is what's explained here. Okay, this is how to perfectly screw up a sale. Talk about your company all the time. Tell me why you're so great. Make everything about your product. So basically, it's all focused on them. So a company makes a sales page, and the founder writes about themselves, or the company talks about themselves all the time, and they're not really talking about why things benefit the reader. That's a big problem. Okay, so this is one of the big mistakes that I see happening. That's what was happening on the page before. Now here's a quick example of what this page looked like before. The A page, okay, the before page, and you can see here that it's got, I'll put some notes here on the side. Okay, it's a long page, but a lot of the it's a long page, but a lot of the framework for the page, it wasn't really thought through. So the company had pretty much been writing the sales pages all just, you know, through the way that they felt, and they just put that information without really thinking about what they're saying or why they're saying it. Okay, now in this case, what that was, it was, the messaging was all very jumbled up. Okay, so I won't go through the whole page here right now, you can see it in the link that I give you later on, but the messaging was all jumbled up and there was no specific, you know, a constant and consistent sales flow of the page. So what the page ended up looking like was, it was all like this. And the page will just read through like this. Okay, so you've got some of the pain points here, then you've got product info here, product details, then you've got product outcomes, then more details about the product itself, then you've got trust generation happening on the page, then more product details, everything's all mixed together. Yeah, it just doesn't read very nicely. Each individual section doesn't connect to the previous section in a way that makes sense, and it was all sort of all over the place, right? So then you've got, you know, some you know, what they should do next, the buy button, and then just, you know, what the author wants down here. At the top there's a bit more of what the author wants, and, you know, the author's pain points, just things that just very disconnected way of selling. Okay, so like what's written here, this page is just not very smooth. It wasn't, you know, a great way to sell. So that was all a big problem and needed to be corrected with the new sales page, right? Now, what we're talking about here is really sales strategy versus sales tactics. Okay, people usually talk about, you know, the way that they're going to put together a page and what to write and how to write it and things like that, but you don't need, before you put anything down on the page, you need to have an overall sales strategy. Okay, and that's like the framework that I'm going to give you later at the end of this video. Now, one of the things that we did for the new page that we built out, okay, the previous page, you can see here, there's no real hook. Okay, they start out, and although it's got a different headline at the top of the page, but it starts off with, what will life be like? This is a Spanish learning course. What will life be like when you speak fluent Spanish? Okay, that's not really sort of interesting, or it's not too much, it doesn't add to too much of the hooks, it doesn't make the reader want to read onwards. Okay, so what we did was that for them, we invented this mechanism called story learning, which is exactly the unique sort of story-based method that this client teaches people Spanish, and then we put that right at the top of the page. Okay, so as soon as people come onto the page to read the headline, and then they kind of move down to this section, and they're like, hold on, this is you know, what's this thing called story learning? And it generates curiosity, and it encourages people to kind of like, you know, carry on reading. It hooks them in. Okay, so this is one of the things that we did for them, which was quite important. So that was one of the first things we did, which was really build out something new for readers to, you know, kind of get involved with, and something that will really drive curiosity for the reader. So once we kind of really found a new way to put an angle on these products, we used that as sort of the base and the core part of what really made the product special. Okay, and so this is the new page, how we started it out with some trust logos here. We're building trust. The buy button is also at the top, but, you know, the hook that we started off with, man who speaks 8 languages reveals strange new way to learn Spanish fast through story learning. So initially you've got, you know, instantly you've just got the curiosity being driven here by this headline, and it lets you know that there's something new, and it also lets you know an outcome, learning Spanish fast. Yeah, and it's all done through storyline. So this whole thing here, this whole headline is just built just to generate curiosity and really just hook people in. Okay, so that was something that was very important that we needed to put on the page that actually draws readers in. So the new sales page framework that we used on this page, now you can see the sections that we're actually building out. They all make sense and they all sort of blend into each other very nicely. They're not just, you know, all over the place. This strategy here is very purposely built. Okay, start by building trust, curiosity headline, quick summary, introduce a related new concept. There's something got to be new. So all of this part here is just sort of talking about what's new, and then the rest of the page sort of talks about like the emotional side of, you know, the product, the problems, how it all kind of fits together, why they need to be interested, and, you know, how this product helps sort of reader solve the problem they're experiencing, which is not being able to speak Spanish. This goes into a little bit about the emotional side. Okay, after that, this is 14 steps in now. Okay, so the rest of the page probably switches to logic, and so the first 10% of the page is just talking about what's new and pacing where they are, to meeting them where they are, and the next 40% of the page is talking about the emotional side of things, why it helps them, how it will change their life, why it's different to other products out there. in what way, and then finally the remaining 50% of the page is all switching here to the logic side of things, and speaking about the product, what's inside it, how does it look, okay, the kind of outcomes, and that's exactly how the page is summarized. Okay, so there's a lot here that actually goes into this page. It's way too much for this video, but like I said, I will link you to the video, the full video, which is about an hour long, and the full case study, which is about 4,000 words. Okay, it goes into it. I'll go into massive detail in there. But this is just a little look into some of the things that now are different about the higher selling page. Like I said, these are very long sales pages. These are long form sales pages. So before, as you can see, the headline used to be "Learn Spanish through the Power of Story." The new headline just kind of what I showed you earlier on. It just draws people way just much more quicker, deeper. We're starting off with some building out trust in the product and the page, the company. There's also buy now buttons for people who've read the page before and just want to come back here and buy. So we're making it easy for people to buy. There's a lot of things on this new sales page here on the right hand side, which actually led to 2.6x the sales growth, right? Let's go through both pages here so you kind of have a look. And these are really long form sales pages. You can see here, we're building trust at the correct time when people want to do it. Lots of experts and their stories, lots of students, and then we're kind of positioning other products against this company. So the competition for this company, we're just letting people know why this product here is better and what the mistakes that all of the competition make. So it's very difficult there then to kind of, if you are a competing company, to look at another company and then say, all right, I want to go over there, because we're making a clear case for why story learning is the best way to learn Spanish, right? We're positioning the founder as an expert. He's written all these previous books, he's been in radio, TV shows, etc. Then we're talking a little bit about how the method works, and then you can see here when we start switching to the actual logical side of sales. Okay, we're talking about logic, and we're then talking about what's inside the course, how do people learn, and you can see the previous sales page here, it finishes here. Okay, it's already done. They're not really giving the full information. And they fall short of sort of making a good case to sell their product. That's why it wasn't converting as well, and it wasn't selling as many, making as much cash flow as the new page, right? So this page now, we're talking about what's inside the course. You can actually look inside. You can click somewhere. Some of these things don't work in the screenshots, but they were all working on the page. And some of these are just short animated GIFs that just take you through examples. So like this virtual classroom preview, you kind of get a good view of the courses and everything inside there. And then once you've done all of that, you go through everything, and then you make the case. We also turn this into a 7-day free trial, right? So people can come in now, they can test the product. So a lot of people we found in the research, they were a bit skeptical. They just weren't too sure that they wanted to spend this much money on buying this course. So we made a 7-day free trial. And what led us to do that is because in the research, everybody said I was skeptical on buying this course before, but now I've bought it now and I would have paid more money for the course now that I've seen it. So from there we made the decision to just make them, let them have a free trial, and that worked in the test, worked very well for everybody. Some of those things weren't actually done as part of the 2.6x in sales, by the way. So some of these things came later, and they still provided further lifts in cash flow generated. So they were nice big wins for us. And then we just take them through the course, frequently asked questions, let people know how to buy, answering some of the most important questions, the most common questions here. People always have questions, and they like to get the answers up front, and that's what went into the page. One additional thing here that we did was people don't really like when buyers come along. It's very difficult to buy a concept. Okay, and this is a digital downloadable course, so obviously it's difficult to kind of picture it in your mind. And this is the picture they were using to sell the course before, and obviously we turned it into a course like an image like this. So it's pretty much the same thing, right? It's exactly all of this stuff is explained on the sales page, but now by adding things on the iPad, looking at it on the screen, on the phone, we're showing that it's you can consume the course across all of these devices, and there's some so it's got some workbooks and things. All of these things are all digital copies. They're not actually physical products, but if you show an image like this, it becomes much more tangible in the buyer's mind, and it lets them feel way more comfortable with making a purchase, and it also adds value to the course. Now, if you're going to spend $300 on a course and this is what you're looking at, but then when you see something like this, you feel much more comfortable about spending $300 on a course, because this is, it just looks far more valuable. So people are happier buying with a tangible picture of the product. Just a little bit more detail about the actual building of the story learning name. Before, they would just have how this company used to sell was they used to say, oh, we teach people through story, or you can learn through story, and you can learn Spanish through story. And it wasn't really a single core concept. So before, it was the whole concept was a little bit like this, a bit hazy, and just nothing really clear, no structure, there's no real path, and it wasn't really explained about how people can learn through story. It's a very vague and abstract concept. So what we did before, we turned it into like this, a nice laser focused, very clearly explained concept about how, and we also gave it a name, story learning. Before it was just called, you learn Spanish through stories, and you just like that. It just wasn't very clear. Whereas now it's called, the concept has a very strong structured name, story learning, and we explain exactly how it works. We explained it both ways, through the logical and the emotional side of things, why it's important. We gave it a single handle of belief, right? It's got a name, the concept, everything just fits all very nicely together. And by creating that, branding and core concept, it really helps, once again, just people when you're selling it's very important if you are selling a digital item or something like that, or something which is brand new, you've got to really explain and educate the market about how this product specifically is going to be useful for the customer, and you've got to explain that, right? The sales page has to do all of that explaining, because obviously if you sell in person, you can explain all of those things and you can do that on a face-to-face basis, but without really sort of having an in-person buying experience, then your sales page and all your marketing materials has to do all of this talking for you. And so you've got to be very clear with the explanations and make sure that people understand the idea. So this is something that also helped the new sales page to sell. Now, I did promise you a framework for building these sorts of pages. Okay, so here it is. We call this the smooth sales page framework, or the smooth sales page ratio framework. Okay, because the page is divided into these ratios. Okay, so here's the sales page. The first 10% should be about pacing and have something new. Okay, to hook people in. The rest of that page, 40% of that page should be about emotion, and usually you can use story to sell a product. Okay, tell you a story, talk about the journey you went through, how the product was invented, why it's important, why how it's different from other things in the marketplace, why it's better than others, the thing that people will receive if they buy from you versus buying elsewhere. All those things are important to explain emotionally. And then the last half of the page, 50% of the page, should just be really talking about the logical side of things. How does it work? How does it get me to where I want to go? How does it get me the result? And explain just that, right? So it cuts through and very clearly explains all of that. So these are the sort of questions here from 1 to 10 that you need to ask, and I will just pause on the screen for a second so you can see that if you want to pause the video or anything. Now, this framework here will be available for you to use. I'll give you a link to this page so you can find it very easily. But also, if you want to see a case study where we increased monthly sales by $131,000 for a different client, email me at this email address, yt1@topgrowthexperts.com. Okay, that's yt1@topgrowthexperts.com. Just send me an email there and let me know that you want to see this case study, and I will send you another case study, a free case study, and you'll see exactly how, another mechanism where we were able to increase monthly sales for a client by $131,000. That's a fair amount of growth just there. Okay, anyways guys, I hope you found this useful. Thanks very much for watching as usual. If you want to see more of these kind of videos, like, subscribe, do all those great fun things. Okay, and I will see you next time in another video. Okay, thanks for watching. Talk to you soon.